Hi, and thank you for joining again this week in Plymouth. I'm your host, Derek Brindisi, Town Manager, and this week's segment we have our new Town Clerk, Kelly McElreath, joining us. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So thanks for coming along. So I know you're new to town, and so just give you a little background. So we've been doing this segment, I would say, going back to May time period, where I try to bring new information to the folks that live here in town. We talk about town business. We talk about a lot of the things that are happening that folks really need to know. And again, I always talk about how there's so much misinformation out there, especially on social media.
Yep.
This show, this 30-minute show every week, tries to cut through all that misinformation, get right to the facts. So,
Perfect.
Again, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Sure. So a couple of things I just wanted folks to understand who you were, where you came from, and get to know who you are. Unfortunately, Pearl Sears was our town clerk for the past 2 years, the first female town clerk here in the 400 years in the town of Plymouth. So with her unfortunate passing, Larry Pizer stepped in, the previous town clerk. He served as the advisor to the town clerk's office and really helped get us through the following 2 to 3 months, and then serving as the interim town clerk during that same period was Anna Mesner. So thanked Anna so much for all of her work that she did during that transition period, and Larry Pizer for, again, holding us up, getting us through two town meetings, so the annual town meeting and the special town meeting. So special thanks to both Larry and Anna for doing that work. So Anna retired on June 30th. Larry's gone back to retirement, effective around the same period, and so here you are. So, Kelly, if you could just spend a few minutes kind of talking about your prior experience, where you came from, and all the things that you've done in municipal government over the course of your career.
Sure. So thank you for mentioning Anna and Larry. They definitely did a great job with the town clerk's office in between the tragic passing of Pearl, and I'm sorry for the loss to Plymouth for her on her passing. So I was actually decided 21 years ago to run for town clerk in the town of Upton. I used to be a bank manager, and I had 2 young kids, and I decided let's do something different. I was involved, believe it or not, in the finance committee for the town of Upton, and my predecessor had retired, so I said, why not run? I didn't know what a town clerk did. So speaking of Larry, I reached out to the incoming president of the Mass Town Clerks Association, who happened to be Larry Pizer, 21 years ago. And he told me it was a great job and I should run, and I did. And for 21 years, I was the town clerk in Upton. My role expanded over those 21 years. I'm also an elected member of the Board of Assessors. We renovated our town hall in Upton. I played a key role in that. About 5 years ago, I got a promotion to be assistant to the town manager, so I had lots of duties under there. But it always came down to town clerk. I love meeting the residents, helping them. Town clerks, as I just recently said, say we're involved in all the residents' lives, from the time they give birth to the time they get married to, unfortunately, the time they pass away. And then at the same time, elections, which is a very key focus of the town clerk's office. So, this opportunity arose to come to Plymouth, and I was ready for a change, and I said, okay, let's do it. And here I am. So I've loved it so far. It's been a month.
Well, I'm certainly happy to have you. And just so folks are aware, and you mentioned it, you served as the town clerk in Upton for the past 21 years. I served previous to during that same period, or at least for 5 years of that same period, as a town manager in Upton, which that's where you and I had met. So I just want folks to be aware that we have a prior relationship working together, and during that same time period, yes, you also served as the assistant to the town manager, and you served on the Board of Assessors there. You served in a major role with technology, facilities maintenance. So, it's interesting because this morning when I'm thinking about our conversation today, I was thinking about all of our new hires here in town. We have a new HR director, a new assistant town manager, and yourself. And what I think you guys have in common is that you guys don't do one specific thing. You have a very broad skill set in municipal government, and so there will be a time that we'll be calling on you to say, hey, can you help us with this technology issue, or have you thought about how we can focus on building maintenance because of all your background? So and assistant town manager has a very broad skill set, and our HR director, a former engineer, has a very broad skill set. So, for me, it's like kind of like Bill Belichick, right? Like he tries to find athletes that have very, varying skills and just makes them one team. So that's kind of, I think, how we're moving forward here in town. So you touched upon it quickly about just kind of the role of the town clerk's office. Can you share with folks, because one of the items I get on a regular basis about town hall is that Town Hall is a very big building, and residents come to Town Hall and they're looking for services, but they're not exactly certain where to get very specific services. So can we just kind of give a 101 of what the town clerk's office, the services that you guys provide?
Yes, so town clerks do a lot of different things. The major thing that we're known for is elections. We're the election office of the town hall. So, every year when you vote, it's through the town clerk's office. We also do vital statistics such as birth, marriage, and death certificates. So if you need any type of those. If you want to go get married, you need to come to the town clerk's office in order to obtain a license. We also like to give dog licenses because, dog licenses, issuing those are an important part for public health because we want to make sure all the dogs in Plymouth have their rabies shot. So we do the dog licenses. We do census. I kind of joke sometimes that we like to count a lot of things, so we know how many dogs we have in town, and then we do the census every year, and that allows us to do two things. One, keep track of everyone that lives in town and know the total numbers, and two, keep our voting list up to date. So it's very important that when you get the census every year, that you sign it, make any corrections that you need to, and send it back. So, and then of course, the elections, and then the town meeting has the town clerk. I am the clerk of the meeting. I like to kiddingly say that unless I say it happens at town meeting, it didn't happen at town meeting. So I'm responsible for taking the minutes and making sure that state agencies are aware of the votes that the town meeting members take in Plymouth. And that gets tracked on an annual basis.
And you have to certify all those votes.
Certify all those votes, and if the town makes a change to the bylaws, whether it's a general or a zoning bylaw change, the town meeting members can't vote on something unless it complies with Mass General Law. So once a change is made to one of the bylaws, zoning or general, I have to certify that vote and send it to the Attorney General for them to review it in order to make sure it complies with state law.
And once the AG's office approves it, comes back to us, you'll then notify all of us that it's been approved and it's now law.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. Well, just an interesting fact, the zoning bylaw actually goes back to the date of the town meeting. That's the effective date, but a general bylaw is the date that the Attorney General approves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
I learned something today. So, I learned a lot working with you, Kelly, over the last 5 years about the varying roles of the town clerk's office. But I think what I learned more importantly is like how important it is to town government. And so I'm hoping this fall I'm going to have the opportunity working with the select board on publicizing my reorganization plan, at least my recommendation to the board. Under the charter, the board will either approve or deny a reorganization. And part of that reorganization is to elevate the town clerk's office to a department level position. So in the past, before you got here, the town clerk's office reported directly to the assistant town manager. And, that was good because the town clerk's office had a voice into the town manager's office. But, to me, elevating that position as a department head level with fire, police, DPW, the finance department, I think really speaks to the volume of work that you guys have down there. But as important is like how important it is, because like you just mentioned, you guys touch everyone's lives every single day on things that you do.
Correct. I can't tell you how many times I've answered the phone at the town clerk's office and they say, I didn't know who else to call, so I called you. And it's good for us to know what is happening in all of Plymouth and not just be in our own bubble of just dealing with counting people and dogs and ballots. we need to understand the community as a whole. And many times the clerk's office is the face of town hall, especially for new residents. When they don't know where to go for anything, they walk into the town clerk's office and say, this is what we need. And I'm always willing to welcome new residents into the community and it should be an opening and inviting environment for anyone that comes into the clerk's office. And I really stress customer service.
And your office is located in the old courthouse.
Correct.
On the first floor. So if you come through the atrium in the front of the building, you just turn towards the courthouse, and you're first door on the left, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So easy to find, very accessible.
Yep. Phone number is easy to know, although I will admit my extension is 10170. I think that's it.
747-1620.
210170 is my extension.
So we'll print that for the show, for this segment.
Yeah.
So we got some important things coming up.
Yes.
In your world.
Yes.
And I think in a lot of people's world, right?
Correct.
So the state election is coming up. We have primaries first,
Yep.
right? And then the general election is in November. But there's a lot of things that happen before we get to primaries. And if you could spend a few minutes talking about mail-in voting versus early voting.
Yep. So as you are aware, Derek, that the state legislature passed emergency measures in 2020 for COVID to make it easier for people to vote and not be exposed to COVID. So they did the vote by mail, the early voting, and election day voting. So about 2 months ago, they pretty much made that, and those were emergency measures. So about 2 months ago, the state legislature passed what they call the Votes Act, and they made pretty much any of the emergencies measures that they did for COVID permanent. Mm-hmm. So everyone received a postcard in the mail, all the voters, and that postcard gives all the voters the opportunity to just sign it and check a box that says all 2022 elections, just the September 6th primary or the November 8th election. And the good news, if you checked just September 6th, because that's the primary, Tuesday, September 6th is the election. That's the day after Labor Day. So as you're getting the kids to school and getting ready to start your fall season, remember to get out to vote that day if you haven't taken advantage of the other measures. But you can get those postcards. We've received almost 7,000 postcards since those went out. I believe they went out the last week in July. And we still have some ballots to mail out, but we're pretty much up to date to a certain degree, and now we're just handling it on a day-to-day basis as they come in. And that's just for the primary election.
So you received 7,000 postcards, which means that you have to then send out
7,000 ballots.
Mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And the key thing, if you're still holding on to your postcard at home and you want to vote in the primary, many of our voters are what we call independent, otherwise known as unenrolled. And in Massachusetts, we have the open primary elections. So you get to choose. If you're not enrolled as a Democrat or a Republican, you get to choose which ballot you want. And we actually have a good amount of postcards that came back that's not included in that 7,000 figure, that they didn't mark the ballot. They didn't mark which one they wanted, and we can't tell. And unfortunately, with 7,000 of them already in, we're having a difficult time reaching out to those voters. So, a little public service announcement. If you're watching this and you haven't received your ballot yet, you might want to give us a call. And, like I said, we have some that we still have to get out in the mail, but for the most part, it could be that you didn't select the party and we didn't send it out to you.
So if they don't check the box off for Democrat, Republican, or unenrolled?
Nope. If you're unenrolled, okay. If you're unenrolled, you need to check a box.
Gotcha.
If you're Democrat, we're sending you the Democrat ballot, and if you're Republican, you're getting the Republican ballot.
Okay.
So the primaries are a little bit more tricky for the town clerk's office, especially the vote by mail, because when you're in person, we can ask you, and that leads to in-person early voting. Another measure of the Votes Act is we're required to have in-person voting, in-person early voting. With the size of the community of Plymouth, we will be open 6 hours on Saturday, August 27th. It's 10 to 4. And Sunday, 10 to 4 as well. We're required to be 6 hours on both of those weekend days. As well, so that's Saturday and Sunday. And then our normal business hours, so 7:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Tuesdays till 6:30, and Friday till noontime. You can walk into the town hall, and it's almost as like walking into the polls. You're going to walk in, you're going to check in. We're going to, if you're unenrolled, we're going to ask you what ballot you want. You're going to take the ballot. Actually, before that, you're going to check in. You're going to sign an envelope that states that you're voting in person early. You sign that envelope, you get the ballot in the envelope, you vote the ballot, place it in the envelope, and seal it. And on election day, we will open that ballot, that envelope, and process it, just like you were there on election day.
And so where is the early voting taking place?
We actually have reserved the Great Hall, so the same room that the selectmen meet in.
Okay.
We will be having, we will have voting booths set up with election workers there that whole time.
So, just so I'm clear, so everyone who's watching is clear, the primaries are September 6th.
Day after Labor Day.
And that's, you go to your typical precinct,
But
right?
can I add, keep in mind, Plymouth, because of the 2020 federal census, we added 3 new precincts. You were 15, or we were 15, and now
Yeah.
we're 18. So I highly recommend everybody double check what precinct, because it might have changed not only your precinct number, but your location might have changed.
So some takeaways is that if you're going to vote on primary day, make sure you know what precinct you're going to, because
Correct.
we've changed the number of precincts. And what are the times for the primaries?
On the day of the
Yeah.
election, at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
So 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on primary day, Tuesday, September 6th, which is the day after Labor Day. So that's good for folks to know. And then early voting begins August 27th, so that
Correct.
weekend, that's Saturday.
Yep.
And you have it on the 28th again on Sunday. What are those times again?
10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they would just go to Town Hall, correct?
Correct.
In the
Yep.
Great Hall. And then, so does early voting just extend the remaining part of that week?
Yep, so we
Does
will
it
be
go
open.
to the following weekend?
It
or-
goes until Friday. Friday
To
at
that
noontime, early
Friday.
voting will close.
Gotcha, okay. And so folks, they can just go early vote as if it was on primary day?
Correct.
Wow,
Correct.
okay.
And then if that is, and those are for the voters who haven't returned the postcards, because again, 7,000 voters already hopefully have their ballots in their mailbox at this point. So, but if a voter wants to come in person, they can. We do encourage you to maybe bring your ballot that you didn't vote with you, so we can track the ballots accordingly. So if you,
Interesting.
yeah. So again, I'm gonna do it the opposite way that you just did it, Derek.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, vote by mail is happening right now. 7,000 ballots are out there, and we're sending them out on a daily basis. If you don't want to vote by mail and you want to vote in person, you can do that beginning Saturday, August 27th. That's a set. We'll be open Saturday and Sunday, and then our normal hours for the week. And then we will collect all the stuff that we need to get in order on Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we'll be at your polling locations Tuesday morning, September 6th, starting at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. to vote for the primary.
So they say that people learn by hearing the same thing 3 times. So
Yeah.
you said it twice,
Okay.
your way, and I said it once my way. So hopefully everyone who's listening, they
Gets it.
They get it. So,
And if not, give us a call.
or
Actually,
just replay the video.
right. Or also keep in mind, there's it's on the front page of the website. There's everything that we just talked about is under news on the website.
So that's for the primaries.
That's the primary
so
only.
then we roll into the general election?
Correct.
Is that the right term? And when is that?
That is Tuesday, November 8th.
Tuesday, November 8th. Okay.
Okay.
So do we start this process all over again for the general election?
So many people of the 7,000 people that did vote by mail already checked the box that says they want the ballot for November. So as soon as we get those ballots in, because keep in mind the primaries, the winners of that contest need to be determined, and the state needs to print those ballots and they need to send them to us. So now it's the opposite, where before we had the ballots and we're waiting for the postcards. Now we have the people that want them, and we have to wait for the ballots to arrive. So the general term is about 3 weeks before November 8th. We should have the ballots, and we'll be able to start mailing those out. We'll be prepared as soon as we get them to start sending them out as soon as possible, because it's already in the system that you've won a ballot for November 8th. That being said, I calculated it to be right around September 25th. If you have not mailed in your postcard and you're not in the system requesting it, then you get another postcard around September 25th asking you if you want a ballot for the November 8th by mail.
So it sounds to me what will end up happening is after we get to the primaries, we're going to have to bring you back on so we can talk about what folks need to do to prepare for the general election.
Yep.
'Cause it sounds like there's some things that folks
Yeah,
are going to have
because
to do.
you get some people might get another postcard in the mail because they didn't sign up for the primary, so they'll get another opportunity. We'll have that 3 to 4 weeks of vote by mail. Early voting in person is going to be 2 weeks. So it's going to be 2 weekends, the first weekend and the middle weekend.
Got it.
And then Election Day, Tuesday, November 8th.
That's a lot to remember. So we have just a few minutes left. So what I wanted to do is just give you a few minutes to talk about, you've been here for about 4 or 5 weeks now, maybe 6 weeks. What's your vision for the town clerk's office moving forward?
There's a lot of, first of all, kudos to Larry for 28 years and to Pearl for her 2 years and Anna in the interim. The Plymouth Town Clerk's office, if you haven't been in there, is a very busy office. I know you've stopped in a couple times and you kind of walk back out again because we don't really have a lot we don't have much time to talk. So it's a very busy office, and I really think that we can improve some of the processes we have with technology, not to scare anybody away. But I've already recognized some things that we can do a little bit better and a little bit more efficient by introducing some simple technology. Larry Pizer had a great marriage program that people can come in and apply for marriage licenses, but I know of another one that I'm looking to get further information on that couples can fill out at home. They can do it they can fill out the paperwork. Doesn't start the clock until they come in and see us in person, but it gives that technology to allow them to do that at home. Dog licenses, already people can apply at home and apply online to do that. You can apply online to get your birth, marriage, and death, and I highly encourage people to do that.
So you can already do that stuff online?
You can already do it online
nice.
through online payments through the website.
Yeah.
So hoping to highlight that a little bit more. In regards to elections, in November, I'm really hopeful that we can introduce what we call the poll pads. They're fancy iPads to be that we load the voter list onto. And so when you come in, if you remember when you come in on election day, the election workers go through the paper voting list,
Right.
finds your name and does a big red check or X.
They still do that in Worcester, just so you know.
Yeah, and we still do it here in Plymouth.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah, we still do it here in Plymouth. We will be doing it for September. However, for November, I'm hoping to have an iPad at every polling location where we can just check you in on the iPad, and it's all electronic. And it's not online, so it can't be hacked. It's nothing that can be, it's very safe, it's very secure. I used them in Upton. I've been using them in Upton since September of 2016 for elections, and they've worked really well. And for town meeting. And that's what I'm really hoping to introduce. And that will save time. I believe instead of the election workers having to flip through papers to get to your street and then your name, just by typing in your name into an iPad, it will go that much faster. And
It'll automatically populate.
it will automatically populate, and then hopefully the voting lines are not nearly as long by doing it that way.
Right. Yeah, and that's great because we're going to talk in the next week or so about the board's priorities and their goals.
Yeah.
And a lot of the priorities we've talked about to this point is around using technology to make the work that we do more efficient. So I know you and I haven't talked about goals this year because you just got on board. So the fact that you're already thinking about that and implementing that, I think, is going to go a long way. Again, given the fact that technology use is one of the board's biggest priorities. And, I talk about like online permitting, for example. Worcester started online permitting back in 2008, and I know our new building commission is doing stuff like that. So again, using technology to our advantage is going to be great. So anything else that you're thinking about that? Because I know we talked a little bit about codification when we were our days in Upton, and I kind of stole that idea. When Larry Pizer, he had this like running list of all the statutes that were accepted over the last 300 years here or 400 years here in town. But the codification program you implemented in Upton, I think, took it to the next level. Do you think that's something we could pursue at some point?
I think it would be a great idea. You know, Plymouth is 400 years old, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in those 400 years, and it would be nice to have one document that could give us everything that's happened as much as possible. It would include the charter. It would include the general bylaws. It would include the zoning bylaws. It would include the conservation wetland bylaw, and it could include some Board of Health regulations as well. That's what we've done previously. So there's definitely some vendors out there that helps us do that and make it much more professional. I shouldn't say more professional, but searchable, and allows everyone to see the big picture at one time. And that's definitely something that I would be looking into to do.
And I just love the fact that like it lists like the statutes we've accepted.
Yep.
So when we say, do we have that authority to do that, we can easily go there and make that determination. So sounds like there's a lot of interesting items on the horizon over the town clerk's office.
Yes,
so.
It's a busy office. I came in, hit the ground running because I think I was there a week when the postcards went out. So right now my focus is elections, and I'm hoping to get out there and meet as many people as I can. I just need to get through the primary and the general election, and I'll be out there more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure there's a lot of organizations that I'd love to meet with you.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is all we have for this segment.
Sounds great.
So what I would say to the folks at home, if you want more information regarding the elections or just the town clerk's office in general, go to www.plymouth-ma.gov. There you'll find a whole array of information and public services we have to offer. So Kelly, thank you again for coming, and we'll see you all next week.